The misty mountains cold.
Is this that Hobbit shit?
Welcome to that Hobbit shit. I'm Mike.
And I'm Corey.
Hey, Corey, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Mike. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, so what are we talking about?
Oh, well, we're finally free from the tyranny of the Rings of Power.
Oh, thank God.
We're back to the book.
Yes.
And actually, I was kind of shocked. Do you have any idea how long this book is? We're on chapter 21.
Yeah, I had to double check when I entered the title in my Google document for this one.
Yeah, it kind of made me do a bit of a double take. I was like, really, 21? And I was like, oh yeah, this is like a 600-page novel.
Yeah, and two more to go.
Yeah. So yeah, and here we are. This is chapter 21, titled "The Lazy River."
Oh,
Remember those?
I think they still exist and they're still awesome.
They've never not been great.
There's a river you can ride down around here, where drinking is not discouraged.
that's
Um,
that's all the encouragement I need.
yeah, so everyone just like grabs a six pack and floats down. Um, yeah, I think Sam's mood would have been quite a bit better if he had a couple of sudsy glasses.
Actually, yeah, that's the kind of river rafting that I think our friend Sam would actually enjoy.
Wow. Okay, more on that later.
Yes. Oh, sorry, we're getting off topic here. It's been so long. And if anyone can think way back to where we left off before the whole Rings of Power ordeal, Gimli had just been sentenced to horny jail for making such an obviously pervy request of Galadriel. And so it was in that fashion that the Fellowship left Lothlorien. They were all in boats on a river, and man, were they ready for another vacation. They were headed south again, or still, it's kind of hard to tell at this point. And Aragorn insisted that they get up before dawn every day and be on the river by sunrise so that they had more time to float lazily down the river with the current, never paddling.
He really took over the role of dad on this journey, didn't he?
Lazy dad. Never paddle dad. Sam, don't touch that oar. Um, Actually, I have more on Aragorn and his and how he is as a traveling companion later. So after a few days in this fashion, the landscape took a turn for the depressing. This place was aptly called the Brown Lands because it was all brown and dead, and the only wildlife they saw were birds. And Aragorn seemed rather prejudiced against the swans. It turned out they were coming close to the land of Roham, but Aragorn was downer about this too. All in all, he turned out to be a pretty shitty boat companion. Hey, there we are, right where we said we would be. So after days of drifting, the whole company started to get a bad feeling about things and decided to paddle. Not much, but enough to speed them up a little bit. Everyone was silent and preoccupied with their thoughts. Legolas and Gimli were having pleasant and pervy daydreams, respectively. Excuse me, I'm just gonna have a sip of water here, Mike.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'll think about Gimli fingering that lock of hair.
Fingering the lock of hair while imagining fingering gold, as the
Yeah.
narration reads. That is double pervy. But anyhow, Merry and Pippin could not daydream much in their boat because Boromir kept talking to himself and paddling furiously towards Frodo's boat. And the curse words that he was using under his breath were quite alarming to the hobbits. And then Sam, on the other hand, was just sitting and suffering every minute that they were in those boats. According to the narration, he could not even be trusted with an oar. One day, in his misery, he noticed that a log was following them. He was pretty sure that he could see arms, legs, and glowing eyes on the log. Well, fuck, because now he had to think about that shit too. He tried to tell Frodo about it that night, and though Frodo was inclined to be condescending, he confessed to Sam that he had also seen those glowing ass eyes back on the other side of Lorien and in Moria too. The two came to the conclusion that it was probably fucking Gollum fucking following them for fucking months now. Pretty shitty realization, actually. The two decided to take turns watching while the others slept. When it was Frodo's turn, he sat there and watched as Gollum paddled to one of the boats and nearly stole a piece of cram while Frodo was sitting there hesitating. Finally, he stood up and drew his sword. Gollum fucked right off, but Aragorn was awakened. Turns out Aragorn had also been aware of the slippery little bastard since way back in Moria, too. They decided to paddle just a bit more the next day and hope that maybe they could lose Gollum. The landscape was changing again. It was getting all stony and shit now. They saw more birds, and Aragorn again showed a negative bias against them. They decided it would be safer to travel at night. This was the 8th day out from Lorien. Mike, if you're keeping track.
I wasn't, but good.
Well, yeah, exactly. Suddenly in the dark, while they were paddling, Sam realized they were coming out to some stony ass rapids. Boromir rear-ended Aragorn's boat and demanded that they stop paddling the river at night. Relatively sensible. And just when you thought shit couldn't get any shittier, orcs started shooting arrows at them from the eastern bank of the river. The elven cloaks and elven boats that the company had must have helped to hide them from the orcs. And so, after fighting against the current to get the fuck out of there, they made it to the opposite bank. Legolas immediately grabbed his bow and wanted to draw some orc blood. All of a sudden, a scary and probably gross giant something was seen in the sky flying toward the company. The orcs seemed to be getting all fucked up over its presence, like all rowdy and shit, like, yeah, buddy. All the fellowship felt pretty shitty about this thing approaching. But Legolas held his ground and fired an arrow right into the whatever it was, and it wheeled off and landed somewhere on the orc side of the river. The orc boys were wildly upset and bummed out and stopped partying right away. That was the last they heard of orcs for now. So the fellowship, some foreshadowing there. The fellowship parked their boats in a little upstream bay for the night, and that's where they cowered until daylight. Gimli could barely eat his elf cram for fear of whatever the heck fire that scary bird was. Boromir had become so generally insane at this point that anytime Frodo said something, he would fly into a weird frenzy. And Frodo speculating on what that thing was made Boromir do just that. Aragorn tried to defuse the situation, but it actually took Sam trying to figure out what day it was by his moon reckoning that put everyone to sleep. However, before everyone passed out, Frodo, I can't keep a secret Baggins, let it slip out unguarded in the night that Galadriel held one of the elven rings. Idiot. Dumb idiot, Mike.
That's really a Sam move, isn't it?
It is yeah. As much as we love Sam, that's the kind of thing that he should, yeah.
No, so, that's a secret ring.
It's a secret ring that Sam couldn't even see. Invisible to everyone, and Frodo's just blabbing about it. So the next day was warmer and it was foggy. And it turns out that Sam can't abide no fog. As it stood, the party had still not officially decided what their next move was. Boromir said they should all grow a set, fuck the boats, and hike to Minas Tirith. Aragorn countered by throwing some dank history references at Boromir and heavily implied he was less learned. They had a fairly heated argument. Crazy old Boromir made up some nonsense about sticking with Frodo and then laid a huge guilt trip on anyone who wouldn't go with him. I believe bros stick together were the exact words used in the text. Anyway, there was some business with Aragorn and Legolas trying to find a portage route around the river rapids. Spoiler, they found it when they had traveled it and had a sleep, and they were finally back in the boats. It rained, but it only rained for a bit. They found that they were in a ravine with high rocks on both sides. The current was getting faster. They were coming up on two huge statues. And I mean, they were huge, Mike. They were bigger than Malmorns, bigger than anything else could be. You could build 100 elf cities on one of these things because they were built by the might of fucking Numenor. Numenor, Mike.
I'm pumped. I'm just keeping my lips sealed here.
Yeah, you're right. The Argonath, they were called. And that's all we're going to say about it. Everyone was pretty fucking freaked out by these things, except Aragorn, who was all pumped up like, yeah, buddy. It was actually pretty treacherous for the boats, though. But again, Aragorn fucking loved it. It's difficult to say what sort of awful things were going on in the other boats because Aragorn was giving some lofty speech about kingly lineages and whatnot. And then they passed the scary statues and they arrived at the falls of Rauros. It had been 10 days on the river, and it was time to choose their path. End scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. I'll stop saying that now.
What a fun chapter.
It's a pretty good chapter, yeah.
It was leisurely float down the river.
Mike, would you say it was a leisurely float down the river at a time in the story when they should have been hurrying quite a bit?
Yeah, it seemed that way.
Got any notes on this chapter, Mike, or were you just like
I've got a number. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Chief among them. Gimli started a fire. Did you notice that?
Oh no, actually, that one passed me by.
He was their fire starter, and he didn't flaunt it. He didn't talk about it the entire time. He just did it, went about his business, and succeeded too.
Yeah, he didn't even struggle to light it.
No, I guess it's a kind of an inside joke. The dwarves are known fire starters, and who was it who just bungled it up every time? Was it Ori and Nori?
I think it was Feely and Keely.
Feely and Keely, yeah, the best fire starters, and the one time they got to do it, they fucked up.
We should also point out that out of 13 dwarves, Gimli's father was among them.
Yeah.
13 of them could not start a fire. I don't think at any point during The Hobbit.
I think they might have started a fire. Wait, did they start a? They fart a fire? Did they after Gandalf's baked beans? When they were in the dragon tunnel, did they start a fire in there to keep warm?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought they might have started one on the Misty Mountains when they were in that little goblin cave
Oh,
right
it
before
could
they
have
got
been.
ate. I don't
Could
know.
have been. Yeah. Anyway,
The point is they were bad at starting fires.
yeah, and again we did it, and no big deal. Didn't even really talk about it.
Gimli's a pretty solid guy. Let's just put
Yeah,
it that way.
he's a stout fellow.
Mike, I feel like it is more unfair hyperbole in the narration that Sam could not be trusted with an oar.
Um, okay, I've got a note about this too. Um, how funny is it how miserable Sam is this entire chapter?
I think like we've discussed this being the worst part of Sam's life several times.
Yeah, and it gets worse and worse. And it kind of, knowing that, the next chapter makes sense. Um, when he makes Sam's choice, we'll call it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
because all of these other people have just put him in situations where it's just the worst stuff he's ever seen, the worst days he's had.
Well, yeah. Speaking of stout fellows, yeah, Sam's a pretty good guy for putting up with all of this.
Oh, he's fucked now.
Well, he's pretty much in deeper than he could possibly get out of.
I guess
Everyone go.
he
Sorry.
could have stayed in Lothlorien, but Galadriel, you were going to say something, weren't you?
Oh, I was gonna say something about Galadriel and Lothlorien actually.
Yeah. Do you think she knew that Sam was just having the worst time?
I think so, yeah. And the vision that she showed him made him want to like run back to the Shire, and she was like, I don't think you can do that.
And then gives him a little box of dirt.
Good luck with that on the river, buddy. Oh yeah, I think that oar thing is unfair because he thought he was gonna drown like every second that they were there. So like obviously it wasn't that he couldn't be trusted with an oar. He was fucking terrified.
He probably would have lost it, and he probably would have hit someone in the head with it, flailing it around.
Just knocks out Aragorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that would be bad. That'd be very bad. I just think the narrator picks on Sam a little too much.
Yeah, a little bit. But at least he wasn't like, "What we got here, Mister Frodo? Some sort of floating contraption." It's apparent throughout the book, but it really became obvious how crazy fleshed out Middle Earth is in this chapter.
Yes.
Like they're going pretty deep on the geography of Middle Earth while they're flowing down the river.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and passing all these things that we'll actually like kind of never see and never go back to, but it's like it's there and it's real.
And it has a history.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, totally.
it's pretty wild. Like I feel like 99% of other books you would hear mention of a place, but it would either be pivotal to the story or and fleshed out in the text, or it wouldn't be mentioned by name.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because not everyone would go to the effort of like, yeah, coming up with the history of everything that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, like Aragorn would have explained Amon Hen, or I can't remember the other one, and who it was important to, and but no,
Yeah.
we don't hear it. You can find out if you want.
And Aragorn does make a point of saying that he knows all the history of these things, but
Yes, he does.
when he's flexing nuts with Boromir. But I have kind of a similar note about the depth of Middle Earth for this chapter, because the second time they saw the birds, like that there were a lot of birds, Aragorn was like, "Well, fuck traveling in the daytime because these birds are obviously staring at us, or spying on us," and that got me thinking. I never really thought about it in this way before. You know what that means though is that like somewhere on you know Sauron's team, for lack of a better description, there are like bird mancers,
Yeah.
like that's pretty wild. Like that, like that's like a whole branch of like magic and speech and I don't know, like that someone is like manipulating these birds, or at least I don't know, discussing things with them.
He has a Radagast or Radagasts.
Well, we all know that Radagast's are a dime a dozen. But
Fair enough.
yeah, I think that also speaks to the depth of what's going
Yeah,
on.
it's kind of cool. And why are all birds evil? Doesn't make sense. It's not fair.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder that too. I'm like, is there not a single fucking bird that they can trust?
Okay, was the Argonath the first real mention of Numenor?
It possibly was.
Like it might have been mentioned in passing when they were talking about Aragorn's lineage or something, but yeah, it's pretty cool that like that he again it goes back to the how fleshed out Middle Earth is, but there's just these two massive statues, and Numenor's not mentioned again for a while, and you're just left wondering like what the fuck.
Yeah, totally. And it says I probably won't be able to put my finger on it quickly because I didn't actually write it down beforehand, but it says something about like, oh, here we go. Under the enduring shadow of the sentinels of Numenor. Um, it's just that's so it's so good. That's so like ominous, I suppose. Though maybe not like with that negative bent to it, but like that's really cool.
I guess reading this for the first time too, you don't get Aragorn's perspective. You get Sam's. He's cowering and pissing his pants in the boat, and then he turns around, and Frodo's cowering too. They're both like they both have their heads down and they're shaking.
Yeah, totally. Because like, yeah, it's just those two statues that are thousands of years old are like are so far beyond anything that they've ever seen.
Yeah, and then they turn around and Aragorn's just like at his most kingly all of a sudden.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's just yeah. Numenor is so cool.
It's pretty cool. Not so much in the Rings of Power TV
Yeah, I
show.
couldn't help I couldn't help regurgitate some of my Rings of Power gripes throughout this chapter, just because like yeah, the sort of the legendary nature and the absolute grandeur of Numenor was done a little dirty in the show. Like
Well,
especially compared to this chapter, like this is so timely that we hit like the one time that they mentioned Numenor, and it's
yeah,
like unbelievable.
yeah. Well, in the show, I'm sure they'll build the Argonath in like a fortnight, and that'll be that.
Yeah, the sister's probably already done a sketch of it. Well, and like yeah, I couldn't help too that like it's well okay, I won't get into it necessarily, but who the Argonath is, and then based on like the depiction of one of those characters in the show so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We shouldn't get too deep on our back into the Rings of Power though, having just escaped its grasp.
And you're gonna unseat my Matham.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
It's funny how the book fell into the same trope where like it seems like everyone had noticed Gollum at some point and they just didn't talk about it. Legolas doesn't talk about it, but he for sure saw him if everyone else did.
Oh yeah, that's a really good point.
Gimli probably saw him and didn't care.
Well, and they're in the furthest back boat too, so Gollum would have been the closest to them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's weird.
it's just such a book trope or a storytelling trope where no one discusses something that's obvious.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a it's a bit of like a big reveal too, like because again, when reading this for the first time, the thing that was following them, I don't remember if I thought it was Gollum or not, but like you don't know until this point.
Yeah, until Aragorn says, I'm pretty sure it's called.
Yeah, yeah,
He
exactly.
can
And
probably smell him.
well, yeah, we know that Aragorn knows him pretty well.
Yeah, he knows. He's mentioned his smell before.
Yeah.
Pretty much how gross he was.
But yeah, it's pretty wild. It's like Halbrand being Sauron.
Oh no, no more, no more.
Sorry. But yeah, no, it's like in terms of the story, it's a pretty wild revelation that like, oh God, like Gollum is at large in the world, and he's not, nowhere. He's been following the Fellowship for a long fucking time.
Through, yeah, through everything they've gone through with like assistance along the way, he's just been behind them.
Yep, yep, and like he skirted things that were seemingly inescapable. Like he went into Moria and he also went out of Moria, and then he
Yeah,
like skirted the borders of Lothlorien too.
yeah,
Not a lot of creatures in the world can pull those things off.
gross.
Pretty scary.
Any more notes, Corey?
I got two little ones.
Me
They're not.
too.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay, cool. I'm enjoying Boromir's descent into madness.
I like how it just barely touched on, but we know what's coming.
Yeah, it's escalating for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
muttering to himself.
yeah, and like when Frodo's talking at one point, he's like, "What? What are you talking about?" Or like Frodo glances at him like, "What are you thinking about, Frodo?" Um,
uh,
and like the
uh,
muttering and the paddling, and they're just so oblivious to Merry and Pippin being right there with how crazy he is.
I'm surprised Mary and Pip, they're probably so terrified. They're stuck in a boat with him for 10 days.
Yeah, yeah. And he's what, like three times their size?
Yeah. They like I really would have liked to have just a bit of dialogue from their point of view. Mary, what the fuck do we do? And like Sam thinks he's having the worst time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mary might be like a boat going hobbit, but he's never been in a boat like this before.
They were probably asking Sam if he wanted to trade when he was complaining at the campfire.
Just casually at first, seeing how Sam reacts.
Oh, our boat's pretty comfortable, actually. There's lots of leg room.
Boromir stays mostly at the back.
I liked the disdain with which Boromir was referring to the boats, called them, we can abandon these cockle boats. I had to look up cockle boat. It's a otherwise known as a cock boat, which is a small boat used to haul supplies.
Wow. That really fits into a lot of things I assume about Boromir's personality.
Like they're amazing boats built by the elves and gifted to them. Abandon these cockle boats.
Yeah, he probably wants to burn them for firewood, and yeah, and he also wants to hike to Minas Tirith, like over the Emyn Wheel, which that constantly reminds us is like impassable. Let's just fucking walk, guys.
We all know someone like that.
Yeah, they're certainly out there. Unless you were referring to me, and that went over my head.
No, I wasn't referring.
Should we keep up our momentum here? Do our last
Yeah,
one?
let's go. Let's go for it.
Okay, cool. Mike, I feel like we should discuss the monster in the sky.
Oh yeah. What is it?
I think Frodo was heavily implying that it was a black rider.
Yeah, I think he knew what it was. He knew what it was for sure.
Yeah, he got
Um,
that dank chill in his shoulder.
the others might not have known.
No, I thought it was kind of cool that Gimli was like compared it to a Balrog.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, they're dealing with some heavy shit.
it's not quite a Balrog, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean that's it.
Yeah, it's like if you were reading this for the first time and you hadn't seen the movies, you'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I guess again, it's kind of like Gollum. It's like the info is there if you like if you've never read the story before, but you know you're not confirmed in that conclusion.
Yeah.
Quite exciting, quite suspenseful.
Yeah, you wouldn't know for, I don't know, maybe another book what it actually was.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think it is. Well, we shouldn't say, but I think it's quite some time before we find out what the creature was, and it's
I can't.
difficult to say how much damage Gimli actually, or sorry, Legolas actually did to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he might have. Yeah, he couldn't kill the beast with an arrow,
Yeah, I seriously doubt it.
but he upset it.
He upset it, and then it upset the orcs, and then it just it was a good shot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
real good, real good. My last note, Corey, when Legolas is talking about how time passes for the elves, I'd never considered that. He says time passes very quickly for them in some regards,
Yeah,
because while they're kind of, they don't age well, everything, or they don't age quickly, everything around them does.
right.
I never really thought about immortality that way.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's pretty cool. Yeah, that is a pretty wild description that he gives of it. Yeah, and talking about like people that they know. Actually, maybe that's one thing they did pretty good in the Rings of Power. Not to keep bringing it up, but like, yeah, when what's his face is all mad that what's his face hasn't been around for a while.
Oh yeah, and he was like, it's only 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's nothing to an elf. Like, what difference does 20 years make? Like 20 years a day, whatever. But
Yeah,
yeah,
everything about that storyline in Rings of Power was perfect.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And maybe they were quite inspired by Legolas's little speech there.
They might have been. You know what? They probably were.
It's the Fellowship is pretty cool. Like the people of the Fellowship, like it's quite a ragtag group of mercenaries. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like one of them will say something offhandedly, and then another one will like correct them from the perspective of their experience and their species and whatnot. Like it's yeah,
Yeah, it's that's what is such a factor Rings of Power. That's what's such a piss off about some people's take on Rings of Power. Like people were upset about having a black elf in the story and saying
oh
how
yeah,
Tolkien didn't write that in. Like he kind of did, just not explicitly.
yeah, and yeah,
Like he wrote about different races and get their perspectives on things and getting along one last time to try to save the world.
yeah. Exactly, yeah, and bringing some kind of like real world elements of that into the Rings of Power is certainly not a bad thing.
Yeah. Anyway, we need to stop talking about that
Yeah,
horrid show.
we're clearly scarred by the experience.
Yeah. Like Frodo laying in his sick bed after having being stabbed.
Have they dropped the season 2 trailer yet?
No, I think it's gonna be a while.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the Green Drag?
We better get drinking, yeah.
Yeah, man, this new format is also no, oh Jesus Christ, I just called it a new format. This old tried and true beautiful trusted format is strange.
Yeah.
But the only food for the brave and true comes from the Green Dragon.
Welcome to the Green Dragon, where we discuss the beers we're drinking during today's podcast.
Yes.
Corey, what do you got?
Yeah, Mike, I've got beer, Mike. Actually, you know what? I went ahead and I wrote down what I've got here because a lot of times I am reading the can and it's very awkward as as I'm doing it. So I am drinking a beer from one of my favorite breweries, Cameron's Brewing in good old Oakville, Ontario.
I know exactly where that is.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't think I've ever actually seen it.
Corey,
Have I seen it?
remember the Tim Hortons we used to walk to at 3 a.m.?
Oh, come on.
It's right there.
For real?
Yeah, for real.
Shit. Like one of the best breweries was right there. And we
Yeah.
were getting what? Triples at 3 a.m.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we didn't, for the record, we didn't actually drink triples, but
No, we might have been getting a Subway sub from a 24-hour Subway as well.
we had a couple errands. However, we missed a big one. Because yeah, I really like Cameron's. Have you had much of their beer, Mike?
Not in a while. Yeah, not pretty much not since I left Ontario.
Oh yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, I like them. I think they're great, and they're like, they're really reliable. If you're like looking around, and you're like, I don't know what any of this crap is. I don't really want 8 sours or 10 IPAs. You reach for a Cameron's, bro.
I believe you. Sorry, what is this? What are you drinking?
So the one I'm drinking is out of respect for the fellowship's trek down the river, a trek under the stars, if you will. I'm drinking Captain's Log, Mike.
Oh,
It is a golden lager. It has nothing to do with Star Trek. It's delicious. It is 5%. Yeah, it's good. It's a very nice lager. It's a bit on the sweet side. Very like wheaty. Yeah.
is
I don't really have much else to say, but it's just good. I like Cameron's Brewing. It's good, solid beer.
Captain's Log is Boromir madly shitting over the side of the boat while Merry and Pippin look on in horror.
Mike, you're ruining my beer.
I'm sorry.
No, it's necessary. It's all part of the show. What can I ruin for you this week, Mike?
Corey, I'm drinking from Lighthouse Brewing Race Rocks Ale because
Oh,
at one point the company was racing towards some pretty jagged rocks.
they sure were.
It's a hearty Scottish style amber ale.
Oh my.
It's actually Lighthouse's flagship ale, if you can believe it. It's really good. It's easy drinking, but it's got a bit of flavor to it. It's not hoppy at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't drink many ales on the podcast, do we?
No, I suppose not. Ale comes up a lot in crossword puzzles, by the way.
Oh, it also comes up a lot in Sam's daydreams.
What percentage is it, Mike?
Only 5.2.
Easy
So
drinking.
it's totally reasonable, the whole thing. Right, like mellow, nice, it has some flavor.
Okay, great.
A little on the sweet side, but it could be my palate could be skewed currently because I haven't eaten sugar in 24 days.
Oh wow, you actually did do that. You haven't told me anything about that.
I've been suffering in silence.
Okay.
But it's good. It's a good beer. It's tasty. I like it. It's one of my go-tos if I'm going to, I guess this goes back to the easy drinking thing. If I'm going to like a party or a dinner or something and I'm bringing beer, sometimes I'll grab like a 6 pack of Race Rocks
Oh, okay.
because it's kind of the kind of beer where you can like hand somebody a Race Rocks and they'll be like, oh, thanks. It's not hoppy. A lot of people are like, ew, get that out of here. And it's dark, but not like a stout.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah.
crowd pleaser of a beer.
That's what I would say. Yeah. What's next, Corey?
Well,
Sightseeing with Sam.
You want to do sightseeing with Sam?
Yeah.
There's an eye opener and no mistake.
Corey, Sam saw some things this chapter, so I think it's time we did sightseeing with Sam, where we discussed the sights that Sam saw.
And you're correct, Mike. Sam did certainly see some sights.
Yeah.
What I recorded that Sam saw was that Sam saw what a hefty dwarf looks like after a fortnight in a canoe. Alternatively to that, Mike, Sam also saw how good an elf looks after a fortnight in a canoe.
I don't remember the specifics. You might be extrapolating a little, but I'm here for it.
I am 100% extrapolating.
Yeah, Gimli probably was stinking after that canoe ride.
Especially when he was boasting about portaging and then was quite exhausted after. I bet he had a mean sweat going.
Oh, I'm sure. And like Legolas probably jumped into the water to, cool himself and bathe, and Gimli was just wallowing in it.
Yeah, Legolas probably actually bathe. Elves are probably like cats. They probably have a way of just like self-bathing at all times.
Gross.
The method might be gross, but the result is a clean elf.
That's true. That's true. Um, so I wrote down that Sam saw that boats were the worst thing he could ever have imagined.
Yeah, I guess he did see that, didn't he?
Yeah, it's funny because it's not the worst thing he's been through, but it's the worst he's felt, I think, in the
Yeah,
whole book.
yeah, I think you're probably right. He also, he saved them at one point from getting real wrecked on those racing rocks.
Yeah, he did. And why they made Sam their lookout, I don't know, but it worked. Someone Aragorn must have had a hunch, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Aragorn saw it all coming. I mean, so while we're talking about Sam and the boats, it's also kind of funny that he mentioned on the night that they were talking about Gollum. He's like, "It's fine. I'll stay up and watch all night. All I need to do in the boat tomorrow is sleep." Sam is very self-aware.
Yeah, yeah. He was just luggage.
Yes, he was. Luggage with eyes.
Peepers for peeping.
Okay, great segment as always. Never a dull segment.
The Matham House, it was called.
And welcome again to the Matham House. Now that we've had fun seeing sights with Sam, it is time to settle down in a chair and listen to a Matham, where we discuss something that it feels so wrong to say something that wasn't worth discussing. Something that would have otherwise been glossed over. How about that?
Yeah, I think that's well put.
Thanks, Mike. So Mike, what have you got for us in the Matham House today?
Well, you know what I have, Corey, because you assigned it to me. I have the Argonath.
Please tell me about it.
Well, like this usually goes, the things we expect there to be a ton of information about, they don't have a lot of information.
I am surprised in this case.
So the Argonath, it's a pillar of kings. Pillars of kings.
End of Matham.
Yeah. It was a monument comprised of two enormous statues carved in the likeness of Isildur and Anarion, standing in the northern border of Gondor. You'll remember Isildur from the Rings of Power.
I do remember him from the Rings of Power.
We don't know who Anarion is, do we?
No, we've not met Anarion.
That's his brother.
Yeah.
Weird, because Elendil is, you would think, long past the age of child rearing, and that's going to cause some complications for the show, and we'll get to that. So each of the two figures, so we're talking about the statues, they held an axe in their right hand, and their left hand was raised in a gesture of warning to Gondor's enemies. They were originally constructed in 1248 at the order of Roman Decile II to commemorate his victory over the Easterlings, and to really rub it in all the time. So at this point, they are over 1,700 years old.
Okay, cool. Wow.
Pretty cool. That's all the information we have about them.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you. That's it.
Yeah, that is extremely unexpected.
Yeah. So since we didn't have much, I dug into old Roman Decile II's lineage because he built them.
Oh,
I
okay.
wanted to know who he was. He was the great grandson of Anarion, the character who was left out of the Rings of Power. Anarion's son, Menedil, it was the last baby born in Numenor before it was cast into the sea.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Wow.
He was only 111 during the last alliance of elves and men. He was also the first solo king of Gondor on Anarion's side. Of course, Anarion co-ruled alongside Isildur, but was slain in the last alliance of elves and men, along with their father Elendil. And then Isildur was killed, flaunting that ring around.
Interesting.
Interesting for Rings of Power because what's his name? Aragorn is the descendant of Elendil.
Yeah.
And their whole lineage is estranged from Gondor, and it Isildur's brother and his sons who take over ruling until the line ends sometime. I don't know. I think it's the 30th descendant is the final one. They're killed along with their children.
Oh, interesting. Okay, sorry, hold on. Maybe you don't know the answer to this, but when Galadriel looks at the records of the Southern Kings, is Gondor the Southern Kingdom?
I don't think so. No,
Oh, the Southern Kingdom is Arnor, is it not?
I think so. Yeah, they're the ones that the Argonath are keeping out or rubbing their noses in their terrible defeat at the hands of Gondor.
Yeah, okay, cool.
It's either a asshole move or a pretty pimp move to build two majestic statues just holding their hands up, being like, "You guys lost. Stay away from here."
And also the I couldn't help but think not many, like I can't imagine a large size boat being able to go through there, because they're talking about how like the river just like speeds up and it just goes through this really narrow canyon between the statues. Like it's yeah, I don't know. I imagine the odd fisherman died there.
Yeah, probably. Uh, they certainly picked their spot.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
totally.
it's also one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yes, it's done pretty fantastically in the movie, yeah. Um it was also quite exciting when the movie came out because it was on posters and you were like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, it would have been cool if the hobbits were all just holding their heads down and weeping when it happened, but it might be actually back to notes. It might be the first time we actually see like the kingly side of Aragorn.
I think when they are in Rivendell and they have the feast, and I think at first Frodo doesn't recognize Aragorn because
Oh, right. He combs out his beard and stuff.
well, yeah, exactly. He had a fucking shower. And, yeah.
Yeah, the whole trilogy is kind of him coming into his own, right? And
Yeah, exactly. I guess like yeah, returning to what was supposed to always be his uh fate. I don't
yeah, it's a good way to put it.
know.
Yeah, so that's the entirety of that Matham.
Okay, wow. Yeah, I'm
Uh,
really surprised.
yeah, you would have thought there would be more information about like the building of them or, you know, significance.
Yeah. Well, we haven't had a really like meaty Matham in quite a while.
I'll look for one for next episode. Try to really lay one on you.
I'm sure you will, Mike. Thank you. uh, well, at least I won't have to do the illustration for the next chapter. So yeah.
Okay.
And is that a segue?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I will draw you, Saruman, as poison is drawn from a wound.
Well, welcome to I Will Draw You Saruman, where we discuss the chapter illustration for this episode.
Okay, Mike, disclaimer. First of all, I emailed it to you just now. Second of all, I am not done, and I apologize for that.
That's okay.
But I've got like a pretty solid mock-up, I think.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, do you see it?
Yeah. It's the thumbnail my phone made was disgusting for some reason. The Argonath, nice.
Yeah, I was going for a travel poster.
I like
this
it.
one. Yeah, like the old vintage style.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do that for like the whole book. And I was like,
I know exactly what you mean.
oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah. I was looking early on too at like the odd chapters that were mine or whatever, and I was like, okay, I could either do it for the Ring Goes South or the Great River, but like we hadn't gotten to them either yet, and I was like, I don't know which is more appropriate. And then when I read the Ring Goes South, and it's like the most sarcastic, the Ring Goes South, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do like a ski Banff kind of poster.
I
Yeah.
like the color scheme. It's very, I guess, of the era. Does that make
Thanks.
sense?
Yeah.
If I could make a suggestion, it
Please.
needs some sort of a tagline to be a travel poster.
Oh,
Which is-
like something beyond like just the Great River.
Yeah, often on those posters you'll see like experience life in the Alps or something,
Yeah, that's kind of, yeah, that's sort of what I had in mind. That's why I was like making like great like a thing. Like it's not just the
Yeah.
river, it's the Great River. But yeah. It kind of crossed my mind. I might do the chapter number as that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Or I guess I could also pull a quote from a chapter like does
A Sam
anyone
quote.
yeah, I was gonna say a Sam quote. Does anyone say something actually like positive about the river? Probably not. Uh,
Uh, the Great River. I'm more than luggage, Mr. Frodo.
Yeah.
That's a tricky one. Yeah, I've done a couple with like a pull quote, and it's tough to find one that fits.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's cool though. Like I really like the one you did for the what was it? It wasn't the Mirror of Galadriel. It was it just Lothlorien was the chapter?
I can't remember.
I think where you were like only evil need fear it, like the Dracula one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was sweet.
Thank you. I can't check right now. Okay.
No, that's fine. Yeah. I think the thing that I'm missing, like well, I mean, other than that, yeah, is like I haven't hit that graphic simplicity of travel posters just yet.
It's
But I
so
will.
hard. It's so hard to do. I think you're like really, really close.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I sort of hit upon like the sort of white lines around everything just sort of by accident. And I was like, oh, that kind of pulls it together in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that kind of art. Yeah.
yeah, they're lovely. Actually, fun fact, Tiffany and I get a Canadian travel poster calendar almost every year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But another fun fact, Mike, I was doing my summary, and the picture was like about where it is now ish, maybe a step or two before this. When I was getting to the end of the summary, and it said their right arms raised and axes in their left hands, and I was like, oh fuck, because I had done it the other way. I had their right arms raised and axes in their left hands, or I don't know, whatever it was. I did the opposite, and I was like, God damn it. Yeah,
Did you fix it or did you just
yeah.
like flip? Oh, okay.
No, I fixed it. I thought about flipping it. My first thought was like, can I just mirror it? And I was like, no, I don't think that'll quite sit the same way that I wanted it to.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I would have flipped out.
I was just like, I'll just go and sit down and do it, you know.
The Charlie Brown walk back to the studio.
But yeah, cool. I think that's I will draw you Saruman.
Great work.
Thanks, Mike.
Man, we got some pretty fun stuff going on.
Yeah, and we are about to do our final. Oh my God, you know what we forgot? We forgot fan cast it. We haven't done fan cast it.
Oh shit.
Cast it into the fire!
Fan cast it into the fire, the segment where we cast the ultimate depiction of the Lord of the Rings. Mike, it was your turn to fan cast one into the fire.
For Gollum, right?
Yes, of course. We Gollum showed up. There he is.
It's just Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, okay, cool. Sweet.
He's funny looking.
This guy's Sam Silvesky? That's your name, dude.
Have you ever seen Fargo?
Yes, I have
Okay.
seen Fargo.
When the police detectives are asking the two prostitutes. Do you remember that part?
I'm gonna say no.
He asks if there was anything about the whatever the accused that was of note, and they're like, he's funny looking. And then I don't know. I gotta find the quote here.
It's a dank reference.
Yeah, they keep calling him funny looking, but there's something they say like it's not just that he's not circumcised. It was something like that. I don't remember. I'll never find it.
Yeah.
They said I don't know, just funny looking. That's
not to get into spoilers here, but it is quite entertaining to imagine Steve Buscemi's acting in later chapters.
Oh yeah, that's exactly like he is an amazing actor.
He is, yeah.
And just he can get like he can do a really good like fussy character too. A fussy angle to Gollum would be great.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, this yeah. All right. Like you said, Mike, I'm here for it.
Yeah, he's not howling at the elven ropes that are wrapped around him, but not very happy about it.
Definitely, definitely not very happy about it.
Yeah.
And he will make that clear. You know what? I think we also should do we may actually do like a little printout booklet of the chapter covers, but we should do a full like tiled image of all the casts that we've done for this season at the end of the season.
I think you're right. Yeah. We should do like how many do we have total? We might have
Jesus.
enough for like separate, like do 9 and then do 9 and then do 9.
Oh yeah.
Separate posts.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, there's quite a few characters. And we painstakingly fan cast them all, dear listeners.
It's maybe the most expensive casting ever, but that's fine.
It's kind of funny. Occasionally, like I don't know, this is kind of neither here nor there, but as you know, Mike, I enjoy Red Letter Media. And every once in a while they'll say something like, well, and you could never do Lord of the Rings again. And I always kind of chuckled to myself at that idea of like no one ever attempting what Peter Jackson attempted. And I was like, well, there's only one way to do it, is to spend billions of dollars and
Yeah.
make it the most over the top.
It's interesting how it has become like the greatest trilogy ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It is I don't know, what do you call that? A benchmark? Like it is like yeah, man. It's in the annals of history. It's the Argonath or something. I don't know.
It's interesting because it was definitely celebrated when it came out, but it seemed like it was more not niche necessarily. Like it made hundreds of millions of dollars, but it was still a nerdy thing to be into.
Yeah, it's sort of. I mean, we'll probably get around to discuss. I mean, we will get around to discussing this. We also have to do our second half viewing of the Fellowship very soon. But I thought it was very fascinating at the time that like how it sort of gained its popularity, especially coming around to when The Return of the King came out and it won a record amount of Academy Awards, but the other two films won none.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wait a second, are they giving them awards now for what they did in the other? It was a very strange phenomenon, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, especially because the first two movies are arguably better too.
Yeah, and I will certainly be arguing that later.
Yeah, we shouldn't talk about it until 2 episodes from now.
Yeah, the time will come. It shall certainly come.
Yeah.
But yeah, great cast, Mike.
Thank you.
Lovely addition.
I had another idea, but I totally forgot. So,
well, that's great. That's chapter 21, episode 21. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming back to the books. You can find us on Instagram at that hobbit shit. You can find us on Twitter at hobbit shit. You can email us thathobbitshit@gmail.com. Thank you again. I'm Corey.
and I'm Mike.
And may the hair on
your
your toes
never fall out.
fall out.
Good one.